It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. The Dodgers are home sweet home. That's the way they're playing. They've won 16 of the last 19 games at Dodger Stadium, and they've won 8 in a row. Should they win today to give them a +9, it would be their longest winning streak at home since they won 13, and that was way back in 2009. By playing as well as they have, the Dodgers have cut the Giant lead to 5. They were 5 back on the 12th of June when they lost to the Giants 2-1 up there at AT&T Park. For Colorado, they are really struggling. They've lost 10 of 15, and when they leave here, they're going to play the Giants, while the Dodgers will be hosting Baltimore. For the Dodgers, they will send Brandon McCarthy to the mound. He has not pitched since April 25th of 2015. He was 3-0 before the injury, and interestingly enough, he did have enough last year to beat the Rockies. He is 1-2 lifetime. On the mound for Colorado, trying to get them well, right-handed Jon Gray. He is 5-3, 0-1 against the Dodgers last year. That was his first major league decision, and he is 0-1 lifetime. So those are the notes before the ball game. Pull up a chair. We got a good one and a whole lot more coming up right after this. Sunday afternoon to you, wherever you may be. An interesting walk made by Brandon McCarthy, crossing the third base foul line on his way to the mound, on his way to pitch a big league game with a lot of suffering and a lot of surgery behind him. The last time he went to the mound for a regular season game was April the 25th, 2015. Brandon has had a great career. He has certainly been around long enough. And for Brandon, at 33 years old, he'll have a celebration and a birthday on the 7th of July. But the present he wants most of all is to perform well today. He's an impressive figure standing on the mound. Brandon is 6'7", weighs 205 pounds. He was originally a 17th round pick by the Chicago White Sox out of Lamar Community College in Colorado. He lives over in Phoenix now and began his career way back in 2002, got up to the White Sox in 2005. Now the men he'll have to face, well, here they come. First of all, Charlie Blackmon, the center fielder, who poses quite a threat. Then you have DJ LeMahieu at second, Carlos Gonzalez in right, and Nolan Arenado at third. Daniel Descalso is at first base. Nick Hundley is the catcher. Christian Adames, the shortstop. Brandon Barnes in left field. And the pitcher, John Gray. Those are the names inscribed on Walt Weiss's batting card. And we'll see how McCarthy fares against them. He'll have a test right away with Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon, a terrific all-around player, had 43 stolen bases last year. And 2 years ago, to give you an idea of what kind of a player he can be, he went 6 for 6 with a home run and 3 doubles. The last player to do that was an MVP, Dick Groat of the Pirates, way back in 1960. He's the first leadoff man to perform like that since Ian Kinsler of the Rangers 7 years ago. So Charlie has a look, and the pitch in for a strike, and we're underway. Now, when you look closely at Blackmon, you check the count. On an 0-1 count, he's hitting .517. So McCarthy has to be very careful here. No balls and 1 strike. If the count gets to 1-1, Blackmon is hitting .563. So there's a lot going on in the early count to the leadoff man, Charlie Blackmon. Here comes McCarthy, and it's fouled back, and that makes it 0-2 the count to Charlie Blackmon. Charlie, a second-round pick by the Rockies. He's from Dallas, Texas. Went to school at Georgia Tech. Had a home run on his birthday as a pinch hitter, his first major league home run. Strike 2 pitch on the way. He holds up on a breaking ball low, and the count 1-2. So Blackmon trying to get something started. He was the National League Player of the Week from the 20th to the 26th of June. He had .424 during that stretch. McCarthy ready, in the 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down goes Blackmon. It was a high fastball up around the shoulders. Charlie went after it and came up empty. So a nice way for McCarthy to start, striking out the leadoff man. But then again, when you're facing Colorado, we certainly know about strikeouts. They struck out 12 times in the first game, and they struck out 14 times last night. So the Rockies now have struck out 27 times, and here's DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu, right-hand hitter. He's the fellow who is unusual, 6'4", and a second baseman. When you think of all of the small second basemen, he has to be highly talented to be that big. Here comes McCarthy, and the 1-0 pitch, and that's low, ball 2, 2-0 the count. LeMahieu, the biggest second baseman since 1925 thereabouts. High pockets George Kelly of the Giants. He was 6'4". LeMahieu back up on deck. Carlos Gonzalez. McCarthy ready. Mac deals, and that's a strike, and the count 2-1. For the Rockies, trying to salvage 1 of 3. They've lost 10 of the last 15, so they've switched. Arenado was hitting third. He's dropped to fourth, and Gonzalez hits third behind LeMahieu. 2-1 pitch on the way. Ground ball into right field. Base hit. So Blackmon strikes out. LeMahieu singles to right. And the batter now, Carlos Gonzalez. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. No dramatic changes. That means Gonzalez and Utley, Seager and Turner, Kendrick, Thompson and Puig, Grandal behind the plate. So a 1-out single to right, and that'll bring up Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez 0 for 3 last night with a walk. 0 for 6 with 2 strikeouts, struggling, hitting .322. Though I'm sure Carlos Gonzalez, as great as he is, and he is hitting .322, 18 home runs, etc., but he'll be glad to get out of here. Carlos at one time a holy terror here, but he shut down quite a bit. First pitch of the left-hand batter, a high fly ball, slicing foul down the left field line, and it will bounce into the seats, and the count, no balls and 1 strike. Carlos Gonzalez superbly gifted ever since he first came up. No other position player in the majors swings at the first pitch as much as Carlos, and he lived up to that going after the first one. However, it's paid off for him. He's hit about .430 swinging at that first pitch. So Carlos waiting, left-hand hitter. The strike one pitch on the way, high and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. LeMahieu at first. 1 out, first inning, no score. Meanwhile, today we will be keeping an eye later on, if they're playing this afternoon, as far as the Giants in Arizona. And they are playing at 1:10, Suarez and Roy. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's foul back. 1-2 the count. Beautiful afternoon in the ballpark, 75 degrees. July the 3rd. If you spend the 4th with us tomorrow evening against the Baltimore Orioles. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up to Carlos Gonzalez. McCarthy ready, delivers, and it's swung on and missed. And once again, Gonzalez is a bitter disappointment for Colorado, especially here at Dodger Stadium. For whatever reason, he's just never been in the game. So that's 2 strikeouts for McCarthy in the first inning. And the batter now, Nolan Arenado. When Arenado came to this series, everybody talked about the fact he has 22 home runs, but he rarely strikes out. Well, that caught up to him. Last night he struck out 3 times, and the night before he struck out 3. So he had struck out 6 of 7 at bats, and then his last at bat, he had a towering home run into the Dodger bullpen right down the left field line. So Arenado trying to get well. 1 ball and no strikes to Nolan. LeMahieu at first with 2 out. He's had a sore knee, so we don't know if he can run or not. And the next one is swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. LeMahieu missed the first game of the series with a bad knee. He has stolen 7 bases, so if he were tip-top healthy, he might be going. But with Arenado up there, then again, he might play for an extra run. Throw to first. LeMahieu goes back into the bag. Rockies have lost 4 in a row. The Dodgers have won 3 in a row. Rockies have lost 10 of the last 15. And the Dodgers have been, in the Sandlot word, absolutely unconscious at home. They've won 16 of 19 and 8 straight. The next pitch to Arenado on the outside corner, and a 1-2 count, and that came up there at 93 miles an hour. Arenado looks down at Stu Cole, who has long since left the third base coaching box. Eric Young over at first. 1-2 the count to Arenado. McCarthy set. LeMahieu bluffs, and the pitch outside, and the count 2-2. Dodgers have won 5 of 8. So this is the halfway point, just beyond as far as the season is concerned. McCarthy whirls, throws to first. Jumping back is LeMahieu. Dodgers ready for Baltimore. It'll be Urias Monday night, Maeda Tuesday, and then Bud Norris will pitch Wednesday afternoon. The Wednesday game with Baltimore is at 12:10. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way, and a breaking ball nubbed up along third. McCarthy down, picks it up, fires, and gets him. So Arenado just topped the ball just about 20 feet up along third. McCarthy has a first fine inning. No runs, a hit, strikes out 2, and walks off at the end of half an inning. No score. To score in their at bat. So we'll take a look at the Dodger lineup, and it'll be Chase Utley in the leadoff spot, Corey Seager at short, Justin Turner at third, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Trayce Thompson in center, Howie Kendrick in left, Yasiel Puig in right, Yasmani Grandal the catcher, Brandon McCarthy the pitcher. On the mound for the Rockies, Jonathan Charles Gray, but he spells Charles Charles. So Gray, an Oklahoman born in Shawnee, lives in Chandler and went to the university. Waiting for Utley to settle in. Right-hander out of a stretch immediately, and he's high, ball one. Chase Utley checking in, leading off, rested yesterday, hitting .256, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs, but in his career wearing out Colorado, hitting .325. He has a look at a pitch for a strike, and the count 1-1. Right side of the infield is loaded up. Utley looking at Nolan Arenado, who's about at the shortstop hole, far away from third base. 1-1 pitch on the way. A breaking ball lifted to right field, racing over to his left, under it now, and making the catch is Carlos Gonzalez. So Utley a fly ball. We take a look now at the Rockies defensively. Here's the way they set up. Descalso and LeMahieu, Adames and Arenado, with Barnes, Blackman, and Gonzalez in the outfield, and Nick Hundley behind the plate. Little surprised to see Daniel Descalso, who is basically an infielder, second and short, but he's playing first base, giving Mark Reynolds a day off. And now here's the wonderkind, and that, of course, would be Corey Seager, who has hit safely in 15 straight and takes a strike. 0-1 the count. With that streak, he's hit .410, so his average now is at .301. Corey has a look at a pitch low. His other competitor at shortstop would be Trevor Story of the Rockies, who has 19 home runs, but Story can't play. He was hit by a pitch on the hand, and he can't grip a bat. 2-1 the count to Corey Seager. Justin Turner waiting on deck. Gray at the belt. Right hander ready in the 2-1 pitch, and that's on the outside corner. Plate umpire, the veteran Angel Hernandez. Gray with the long locks spilling down from under his cap right down to his shoulders. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Right-handed delivers, and there's a one-hopper into right field for a base hit. So Seager now has hit safely in 16 straight with a clean single to right. So Seager aboard with a base hit. Now that'll bring up Turner with Gonzalez on deck. So Seager's like a machine. He just walks up, waits for his pitch, bang, base hit. With Seager at first, 1 out here in the first inning, no score, and Justin Turner has a look. Justin hitting .262, so he's really come alive. 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in, 4 for 7 in the series. Gray at the belt looking over at Seager. Now the pitch is lifted to right field but playable. Gonzalez right there. Seager has nowhere to go but back to the bag. So we've had 2 fly balls to right, a single, and looking at where Seager is, he's right there. Osuna and Zobrist had 16-game hitting streaks. Jace Peterson, Paul Goldschmidt, Brandon Phillips 13. So right now he's tied with Marcell Osuna, 16-game hitting streak. And the way he's gone, he's not going to stop right away. So we have 2 down in the first inning, no score. Seager at first, and here's Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez checking in. He's had a nice series. Just about all of the Dodgers, reason why they're playing so well at home. Gray ready, deals, fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. There was one of the things we talked about last night, and I said I would talk about it today, and that is the hobby, I guess you call it a hobby, of Jon Gray. He truly is a ghost buster. No fooling. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. John set and deals, breaking ball missing, 1 ball and 1 strike. He was on the radio talking about his hobby, and he wants to get back to the Stanley Hotel. I think that's in Canada. That inspired the horrifying nightmare mansion from The Shining, and that really got him thinking. And he now actually goes and tries to detect ghosts. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, 1-2. He says they have different cameras. He has some of them. New technology out. Get all kinds of readings. A lot of people think they can detect the ghost by its temperature. These cameras can detect full spectrum and color that the human eye can't see. I mean, he is really caught up in it. And he has a, whatever this is, a K2 electromagnetic field meter. And he goes out looking for ghosts. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on, high fly ball, very playable. Gonzalez is calling, and Carlos picks it off, and that's that. So a ghost left at first in the image of Seager, and at the end of an inning, no score. As we go to the second inning, no score in the ball game. The Dodgers and the Rockies. And Brandon McCarthy will be pitching to Daniel Descalso, Nick Hundley, and Christian Adames. McCarthy made the Liverpool Echo newspaper in England, which is kind of a surprise for a baseball player, and had nothing to do with him making his debut today. The first pitch to Descalso outside on the corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Daniel normally around second or short, playing first. Very, very valuable guy to come off the bench. 0-1. McCarthy comes back, and it's a sinker low and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Here's part of the article in the Liverpool Echo. An American baseball player has donated $10,000 to Charlie's Chance. That's a campaign to send a schoolboy to America for life-saving cancer treatment. The pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-2. LA Galaxy player Steven Gerrard sent in $25,000. Though some big-hearted athletes trying to help a youngster back in England. The fastball outside and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. McCarthy looks down. Descalso waiting, left-hand batter. Now Brandon goes to his windup. 2-2 pitch. He slings it in there. Strike 3 called. 94-mile-an-hour fastball at the knees. That's the third strikeout for McCarthy, with 1 out in the second inning. Say, when you think of 4th of July, well, you think of America's pastimes, Dodger baseball, and fireworks. So celebrate tomorrow here with the Orioles. Enjoy a post-game fireworks show courtesy of Hawaiian Springs Water. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Yeah, it comes to a good ball game. Baltimore in first place, playing exceptionally well. Dodgers trying to catch the Giants. They're 5 back. And safely, you sit and enjoy a great fireworks show. Tomorrow night's game at 6:10. Whatever you do, stay as far away from playing with fireworks. 0-1 the count to Nick Hundley, right-hand hitting catcher. No score, second inning, 1 away. McCarthy comes back and misses low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. McCarthy, when he made his contribution, he tweeted a simple message which really told it all. 1-1 pitch, off speed, nubbed in front of the plate, playable, and out he goes as Hundley is short, and Grandal throws him out by 10 feet. So 2 down in the second inning, and Christian Adames coming up. What Brandon McCarthy tweeted, quote, "Just an American Liverpool fan who wants to help Charlie get the care he needs. It's truly wonderful to see that those here are ensuring that he'll never walk alone. Best wishes, Brandon McCarthy." So Mac with the big heart going back to work, and the pitch to Adames swung on and missed, and the count 0-1. So McCarthy has struck out 3, given up a base hit, no score in the ball game. Brandon hitting 93, 94 on the gun. Adames has to play for Story, who can't play, so they lose a lot of power. He pings one to left field, and it'll be caught out there by Kendrick, and that'll be that. A 1-2-3 inning for Brandon McCarthy, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. And mom and dad with their baby, little boy, out in the sunlight. Just hope that he gets plenty of water, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to dig out the sunblock. Great to see that. Oh, yeah, there's another one. Talking about making sure he gets plenty of water. That redhead is ready for a big day with a beret. Second inning, no score. And Trayce Thompson at the plate takes inside, ball one, 1-0. In doing a little research on Jon Gray, he had a remarkable start to a ball game against San Diego, first week of June. Right-handed deals and Thompson takes low, 2-0 the count. All systems going on that day, fastball, curve, and change. He struck out the first 5 batters that he faced. That meant John Jay, Wil Myers, Matt Kemp, Brett Wallace, and Derek Norris. Right-handed deals a strike, and the count 2-1. Gray became the first pitcher in the majors to accomplish that feat this year. Of course, we were talking about a game from many years ago the other night. Johnny Padres struck out 8 in a row. Here's the 2-1 pitch, uppercutted and missed, and the count 2-2. Thompson, Kendrick, and Puig. Second inning, no score. Very, very light zephyr, barely moving the cloth on the flagpoles in center. 2-2 pitch on the way. Trayce swings, fouls it back. Giants are in Arizona. They lost last night, blew a 5-3 lead, and lost 6-5. Dodgers picked up a game. Back on the 12th of June, the Dodgers were 4 games back of the Giants, and they lost up at AT&T Park 2-1. They dropped to 5, and they haven't been that close until today. A high drive to center and deep. Back goes Blackmon to the track at the wall, watching it go out. Home run for Thompson, 1-0 Dodgers. So Trayce Thompson puts the Dodgers on the board with his 13th home run of the year. He has 32 runs batted in, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. For Jon Gray, he has been victimized by the home run ball. That would be number 12 that he's given up. And the pitch now to Howie Kendrick, in for a strike, 0-1. The last time that Trayce Thompson hit a home run was at Milwaukee just a couple of days ago on the road trip. Now the next pitch to Kendrick, slider away, 1-1 the count. Kendrick with Puig on deck. Dodgers have been unconscious at home. They've won 16 out of 19, 8 straight. The 1-1 pitch, fastball at the kneecap, and it nicked him, and so Kendrick is awarded first base. We get a report out of Arizona. Giants D-backs no score. And for those watching on television, a second look at the home run by Trayce Thompson. So the Dodgers leading 1-0. Blackmon just ran out of real estate, went to the wall, and then his arms dropped to his side, watching it disappear. The 1-0 favor of the Dodgers. We'll repeat, Giants D-back, second inning, no score. Yasiel hitting .257, but since he's come back from the DL, hitting a little over .360. Home run, 5 RBIs. Gray at the belt, looks over at first, comes to his hitter, swung on and missed. Good fastball at 94. 0-1. So Trayce Thompson, along with Corey Seager, and along with Jock Peterson, they all live together in a house. Here's the strike one pitch. Instead, throw to first. Kendrick diving back to the bag. Howie Kendrick doesn't get any publicity about it, but he's 7 for 7 in stolen bases. So Howie just does everything right. Play second, play third, play left. Strike one pitch on the way. Puig has a look, big rip, and comes up empty at a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. 0-2 the count to Yasiel Puig. 1-0 Dodgers on the home run by Trayce Thompson. We're in the bottom of the second inning. Strike 2 pitch on the way. And the right-handed delivers fastball high at 96. So Jon Gray can throw hard. Gray with a record of 5-3. Dodgers beat him last year. That was his first major league decision. Well, this year he's come back to win 5. 1-2 to Puig. Again, the right-hander at the belt. Turns, throws to first. Hendrick diving back. One ball and 2 strikes. Out of his stretch again, very deliberate is Gray. And John's 1-2 pitch on the way is taken low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The New York Mets came alive. They had a 4-game series with the Cubs, and they beat the Cubs, sweeping a 4-game series. They beat the Cubs today 14-3, and part of the story in a runaway, a non-pitcher pitched. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up. Puig takes ball 3. Cubs catcher Miguel Montero, remember the veteran who used to play with Arizona? Well, he pitched to the Mets pinch hitter, who happened to be Jacob deGrom, and deGrom, the pitcher, flew out to left field. Montero's line, well, he worked an inning in the third, 4 hits, 1 run, earned run average 6.7, and the Mets devoured the Bears 14-3. 3-2 the count. Kendrick at first, nobody out. Kendrick goes, the pitch is ball 4. A needless throw down to second. And we have runners at first and second and nobody out. So in the inning, Thompson homered. Kendrick hit by a pitch. Puig walks. And here comes Yasmani Grandal. 2 on, nobody out. Second inning, Dodgers lead. And Stephen Foster is going to go out to the mound and talk to Jon Gray. So the New York Mets trying to catch Washington, sweeping the Cubs. That's a jolt for Chicago, but only a jolt because they began the day 9 games in front of the Cardinals. So Foster talking to his man, the pitcher. We mentioned a moment ago about the Dodgers having won 8 straight. If they win today, and they're leading 1-0, but if they win today, it'll make it 9 straight, and that would be the longest winning streak at home for the Dodgers since back in 2009 when they won 13 straight. So for Dave Roberts, in the face of adversity, he has held up extremely well, and he has his club playing in high gear. 2 on, nobody out, and here's Grandal batting left-handed and has a look at a strike. And the count 0-1. Grandal struggling with the average. Batting .182. 7 home runs, 6 of them hit left-handed. 2 on, nobody out. They load up the right side, and they pitch to Grandal very high. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jon Gray, by the way, has been hit very hard with 2 men on base. With 2 runners on, the opposition is hitting .355 against him. Young right-handed deal, swung on and missed. Fastball had a little sink to it on the outside part of the plate. Gray leans in, hiding the ball back of his right hip. Now set at the belt. Looks back at second, comes back to Grandal, and it's fouled away. 1-2 the count to Yasmani. A.J. Ellis played last night to give Grandal a breather. Howie Kendrick nicked by a pitch after Thompson had homered, and then Puig walked. So 1-2 the count to Grandal. Gray at the belt, losing 1-0. And the right-hander from Colorado set, ready, and fires low in the dirt. Nice save by Hundley. For Jon Gray, he was not thinking about being a baseball player when he was growing up. I mean, he is from Oklahoma, went to the University of Oklahoma. He dreamt of being a Sooner football player. He played defensive end, tight end in high school. He used to catch passes from his older brother Jack. So everybody thought, well, he's going to be a football player, but he gave it up as a senior to concentrate on baseball. Gray set, looks at the runners. The 2-2 pitch to Grandal is swung on and fouled away, and he's still there 2-2. Gray played baseball, basketball, and football. Senior year, concentrated on baseball, and he was the 13th round pick out of high school. Didn't sign, committed to Oklahoma, switched to Eastern Oklahoma State Junior College, so he'd be eligible for the 2011 draft. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up. He's made 34 pitches. Fastball outside. So he's really struggling now. 3-2. Nobody out. The inning started with Trace Thompson hitting a home run. Then Kendrick nicked by a pitch. Puig walked. And here's Grandal, 3-2. So the runners taking their leads. Dodgers lead 1-0, second inning. Gray at the belt. And time. Not sure who called it, but time called by the plate umpire, Angel Hernandez. The other night, Will Little was the plate umpire, and when one of those things happened, he immediately pointed to the catcher. He wanted everybody in the ballpark to know that it was the catcher who called time. He even walked halfway out to the mound with the catcher to make sure the pitcher knew. De La Rosa. All right, 3-2. The runners held the last time. They're holding now, and it's foul back out of play. When the Rockies chose Jon Gray, he was the 3rd round overall pick, behind Mark Appel of the Astros and Chris Bryant to the Cubs. So he was in a high-priced country at that time. All right, the right-hander still fighting 3-2, and the pitch to Grandal with McCarthy on deck. Runners go this time on ball 4. And the bases are loaded. Well, as they always say, there's no defense against a walk. So Walt Weiss, who was a wonderful shortstop in his playing days, kind of twiddling his thumbs, a little frustration. Home run, hit batter, and then 2 walks. So Brandon McCarthy, who finds himself leading 1-0, now comes up with the bases loaded. McCarthy, I assume, has not really swung a bat, certainly not in a regular game since last April. Might have taken a little BP. In his career, McCarthy has 5 hits. He's around to bunt and takes ball 1. 1-0. 1 year with the Diamondbacks, McCarthy was 1 for 37. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 Dodgers, a chance to open it up a little. The 1-0 pitch is looked at for a strike, and it's a 1 ball, 1 strike count. Gray throwing hard. He's right there at 95. John's fastball has actually been clocked as high as 102. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. McCarthy again showing bunt, and it's outside, ball 2. Not that he wants to bunt. All he's trying to do is confuse the target. Hundley doing the best he can, setting that glove behind the plate as if to say, okay, hit me. But by McCarthy showing bunt, that seems to have bothered Gray, and the count's 2-1 with the bases loaded. Nobody out. 2-1 pitch. McCarthy takes high. Ball 3. Well, Jon Gray might pursue ghosts in the offseason. but he's already been bothered by the ghost of a home run by Trayce Thompson. Then he hit a batter, walked 2, and up to his neck now. 3-1, bases loaded, nobody out. So McCarthy at 6'7" certainly gives him a good strike zone, but he hadn't come close. And the 3-1 pitch is taken for a strike. 3-2. Basically fastball, slider, curveball, and changeup. Here's the full count pitch with the bases loaded. Gray ready, delivers, and it is low. Ball 4. Everybody moves up 90 feet, and the Dodgers lead 2-0 without hitting the ball. So McCarthy comes back and actually gets a run batted in. So Kendrick brings the run home. Puig to third, Grandal to second, McCarthy to first. Still nobody out. For McCarthy, that run batted in the long career, that would be his 5th. So Dodgers lead 2-0. Home run followed by disaster for the young right-hander. And now he gets Utley and Seager. So the Dodgers with Puig at third, Grandal at second, McCarthy at first, and nobody out. And Utley fouls it away. 0-1 to count. Interesting, I'm not sure if he's in the Dodger dugout. Brett Anderson is watching, if he is. And Brett Anderson was in spring training 2 years ago with young Jon Gray. Tried to help him as much as possible. All right, the strike 1 pitch coming up. Gray very deliberate. Deal swung on. High fly ball to right, shallow. Gonzalez is there, tagging up his Puig. He is not going to run, not on Carlos Gonzalez. So Utley, a fly ball to shallow right. That's the first out of the inning. Dodgers still have the bases loaded, and here's Corey Seager.
Corey Seager.
Seager single to right field in the first inning, so he's hit safely in 16 straight. We were talking the other night about Seager and how he sprays his base hits all over the place, and it holds up with his base hit to right. He's in the 30s just about all directions. Remarkable young hitter. So Seager checks in. Still bases loaded, 1 out, 2-0 Dodgers. Fastball swung on and missed, and the count 0-1. Seager has the baseball world talking, and right now he has Puig, Grandal, and McCarthy out on the lines. 0-1 the count. Gray set at the belt. Right-hander comes back. Foul back to the screen by Corey, and the count 0-2. I know, looking at his hits, he has sprayed them in the 30s, all 3 left field, center field, right field. Seager has 97 hits. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Gray delivers, and it's going to go foul down the left field line. Fouled by plenty, deep in the lower deck. So it's still 0-2. 2 runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. The base hit by Seager in the first inning went for naught, but the home run by Thompson got the inning really started, and it began to disintegrate underneath the feet of the young right-hander Jon Gray. The strike 2 pitch to Corey Seager with the bases loaded is taken low and inside, almost hit his left ankle, and a 1-2 count. So to repeat, Thompson homered, Kendrick nicked by a pitch, Puig walked, Grandal walked, and McCarthy walked to force in a run. Utley a fly ball to shallow right, no advancement, and here is Seager. 2-0 Dodgers second inning. Gray at the belt, checking, trying desperately to throw a strike, and the next one is swung on and missed, and there it is. That's what he needed. to strike out Seager. Now he is almost out of the mess.
Baseman number 10.
That's his
Justin
first
Turner.
strikeout, so he picked a pretty good time to do it. So Seager strikes out, and now Justin Turner. In the first inning, Utley, Turner, and Gonzalez all hit fly balls to right field. For Justin Turner, no slams in his young career. However, he's always successful in this kind of a spot in his career, hitting .333. So the Dodgers lead 2-0 here in the second inning. They might have a ton. They've got the bases loaded, but they failed to deliver much more. And the first pitch fouled away. For Jon Gray, the minutes seem like hours. He's been out there for 20 minutes now. He's made 51 pitches. That means 38 pitches here in the second inning. Gray leans on his left knee, hides the ball on the right hip, and Turner waiting, no balls and one strike. Down the line comes Puig. The pitch to Turner. Line drive into left field, base hit. One run will score. They're trying to send the second run in, and he's going to be out from me to you. That's Grandal. Trying to run on Brandon Barnes is not a good idea. He shot down Puig the other night. He shoots down Grandal. But when it's all said and done, the Dodgers have a 3-run inning sparked by the home run by Trayce Thompson. And at the end of 2, Dodgers 3, Rockies nothing. They might have gotten even a lot more, except Chris Woodward decided to try and score Yasmani Grandal from second base. And against Brandon Barnes, who threw out Yasiel Puig the other night. So Grandal was going to be out by plenty, and the throw to the plate, and he was nailed dead to rights. So Brandon Barnes shows off his arm. We're not sure how well Blackmon throws. I'm sure he does well. But boy, with Gonzalez in right and Barnes in left, you just can't run. Not against this Rockies outfield. However, if they're going to give you walks and give you runs, it's 3-0 Dodgers in the third inning. Brandon Barnes batting 8th in the lineup, then the pitcher Jon Gray and Charlie Blackmon. So the Dodgers got 3 runs on 2 hits, a home run and a single by Turner. And we go to the third inning. For a week now, Barnes has been red hot, hitting .391, so that's lifted his average a little bit to .246. Bill McCarthy leading 3-0, going to work in the third inning. And so far, so good. Brandon Ready, big right-handed deals, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. You can imagine Gray. He's sitting there in the dugout, 3 walks and a hit batter, thinking, how in the world is that big guy doing it? Next pitch, in for a strike. I mean, McCarthy, who hasn't pitched in a big league game since April of last year, has just been throwing strikes. He has struck out 3, and he's ahead 0-2 on Brandon Barnes. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way, down and away. 1-2 the count. Well, the D-backs got a run. Remember last night they stole a game from the Giants, trailing 5-3. They came from nowhere and won 6-5 on a big home run by Wellington Castillo. Well, they picked up a run in the third, and they lead the Giants 1-0. Albert Suarez pitching that game for the Giants. So Bumgarner has been great. Johnny Cueto has been even greater, but then it really falls off with Samardzija and Suarez. 1-2 pitch on the way. Check swing, a little roller. Up with it is Turner. Throws to first in time for the out. So Barnes taps to third. 1 out. And the batter will be John Gray.
Pitcher number 55, John Gray.
Gray waiting at the plate. 1 out, third inning, 3-0 Dodgers. Gray has 3 hits. Takes a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. McCarthy reading Grandal. He has money on his knees. Now settles back into a normal cat. Gesturing to McCarthy, just a second, I'm getting ready. And now the pitch low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Big Mac ready, and the 1-1 pitch on the way. That's low and inside. Ball 2, 2-1. Dodgers lead 3 runs, 3 hits. Rockies, no runs, 1 hit, a single by DJ LeMahieu in the first inning. Trace Thompson's home run ignited a 3-run inning. 2-2 the count. Dodgers trying to win their 9th in a row at Dodger Stadium. Remarkable. Though for Dave Roberts, his ball club just seems to be coming back and coming back strong. 2-2 pitch in there. Strike 3 called to Gray. That's 4 strikeouts for McCarthy. And with 2 down, the batter will be Charlie Blackmon. So Blackmon, the center fielder, struck out in the first inning. So he's had a look at McCarthy. We'll see what happens now. Blackmon, I guess if you wanted to sum him up, is somewhat of a character as far as the Rockies players are concerned. You know, in spring training, the pitch, little low, ball 1. Cespedes showed up, Yoenis Cespedes showed up in spring training, and he had a collection of cars after having signed a $75 million contract. Pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-1. So in spring training, every day that Cespedes showed up, a brand new car, and only the top. And then who would follow in a 2004 Jeep Laredo? Charlie Blackmon. Here's the next pitch, and Charlie fouls it back. That's the same car that his parents gave him when he was graduating from high school. And as he says with a straight face behind that beard, this is my car. Nobody else has this car. Well, it's not always very reliable either. Back in January, it ran out of gas. 29 years old, was on the highway, and he needed a teammate to come to pick him up. Here's the 1-2 pitch, swung on, a hopper into right field. So Charlie doesn't need a 2004 Jeep Laredo to get the first. He makes Puig throw into second, making a big turn. So Charlie's aboard. 2 down in the third, and T.J. LeMahieu coming up. Blackmon, as we mentioned, is also a good base stealer. Stolen 8 of 11. Last year he stole 43. I love Carlos Gonzalez. They asked him, what do you think of Charlie's 2004 Jeep Laredo? And he said, it's not even fun to look at. But that's Charlie's car. And the pitch in, but low, ball 1. 2 down, Blackmon at first, 3-0 Dodgers, top of the third. LeMahieu, who singled to right field in the first inning. He, like Blackmon, gives you a big strike zone. He's 6'4". 1-0 pitch on the way. Off speed, breaking ball, drops in nicely, and the count 1-1. Kind of remarkable after such a long layoff that McCarthy just keeps throwing strikes. Brandon checking. 1-1 pitch coming up. Instead, throw to first. So with 2 down, they're thinking that Blackmon might try to go. Of course, when you go back into McCarthy's records, he is 10th among all active pitchers, averaging 2 walks per 9 innings. Brandon, a high set, comes back to his hitter, swung on, ground ball to short. Nice pick, one-handed by Seager to throw him out, and that's that. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, 3-0 Dodgers. Dodgers, bottom of the third inning. Adrian Gonzalez left waiting at the plate when Grandal was shot down at home. So Gonzalez, Thompson, and Kendrick coming up in that order. By the way, we told you the D-backs had a 1-0 lead against the Giants. However, in the third inning, Mac Williamson put the Giants ahead. A 2-run single. Giants lead the D-backs 2-1 in the third. Ball 1 to Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian, one of the 3 fly balls to right field in the first inning. 1-0 pitch on the way. John Gray comes back, and it's grounded up the middle by the diving Adames and through into right center. Remember, they had 3 men over there, and still Gonzalez found a hole. So Adrian opens up with a single,
21,
and the batter will be
Trace
Trace Thompson, who hit his big home run in the second inning. For Thompson, it was his 13th, but more than that, it shook the cage with John Gray, who then went wild. A hit batter and 3 walks in a row. So here's Trace, 1 for 1, with Gonzalez at first on the base hit. Dodgers 3 runs, 4 hits. Gray ready, delivers, fastball for a strike, and the count 0-1. He's had trouble trying to get ahead of the hitter. No balls and 1 strike. Gray set, Gonzalez short lead at first. Strike 1 pitch to Trace, a little low. 1-1. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. Gray at the belt, and here he comes, and this one is swung on and missed, up and in. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 3-0 Dodgers in the third. John Gray ready, and the 1-2 pitch way off the plate. And the count 2-2. Gray struggling to throw strikes, so he's very vulnerable. 2-2 count. John checking, ready, here he comes, and this one's in there. Strike 3 called. So Thompson is caught looking, becomes the second strikeout victim.
47, Howie
and the batter will
Kendrick.
be Howie Kendrick. Kendrick followed Trace Thompson's home run and was nicked by a pitch, and then followed the walks to Puig, to Grandal, and to McCarthy as well. And the first pitch to Kendrick, in for a strike, 0-1. So Gray desperate to get out in front of a hitter. No balls and 1 strike. Gray at the belt, looks over. Gonzalez not much of a threat to do anything. Very short lead. Meanwhile, Kendrick swings and doesn't get it. 0-2 the count. We're in the third. Dodgers lead 3-0. Gray having trouble, among other things, controlling that slider. And his strike 2 pitch about ready. Here she comes. Fastball, line foul into the crowd off first base. No balls and 2 strikes to Howie Kendrick. Strike 2 pitch, and Kendrick punches it on the ground to first. Nice play by Descalso. Throws down to Adames for the tag, and that's the inning. Wow. Daniel Descalso playing first base and turned in a nice play on a ball hit right at the bag. So that'll do it for the Dodgers. Base hit, nothing else. 3-0 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. It's back. The Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack. Taste it before it's gone at Jack in the Box. There's a picture out of the past during the war, 1944. Sergeant Joe DiMaggio, former Yankee great. Chief Specialist Harold Pee Wee Reese, flanked by some pretty high commandants, Vice Admiral Robert Gormley, and also General William Flood. The war. The war to end all wars. Fourth inning, 3-0 Dodgers. Brandon McCarthy facing Gonzalez, who tries to bunt almost out of desperation the way things have been going for him, and the bunt goes foul. Gonzalez, and you know, I can't believe it because I've been watching him and I so respect his overall abilities. He has one hit in his last 27 at-bats at Dodger Stadium. He has won for 27 with 18 strikeouts since last September. What it really shows you is just how tough it is to be a big league player. And of course, when you're as talented as he is, every pitcher is bearing down like it's his last moment on earth. 1-1. 1-2. With all of his problems, I mean, Gonzalez is still hanging around 320. But 1 for 27 at Dodger Stadium. 1-2. Fouled? No. He just struck out again. Wow. What was that great line from the King and I? It's a puzzlement. One away. 5 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy. Nolan Arenado hit back to the box. Little dribbler actually up along third. McCarthy came down and threw him out. Nolan batting .290 with 22 home runs. Pulled foul on 1. No balls and 1 strike. Light breeze going to right. And a fly ball. Late start by Puig. Here he comes in a hurry to make the catch. So Puig standing absolutely motionless, looking for that ball, and then picked it up. He's wearing glasses, like sunglasses, out there in right field to try and help him. Very hard, I'm sure. First of all, looking in at the sun, and of course the multi-layers of colors and clothing. You have to look in between the layers to try and pick the ball up and then pray that you can stay with it. And a strike to Descalso. Descalso struck out in the 2nd inning. McCarthy's just throwing strikes. Wow. And a high fly ball, very playable. Thompson is there. Well, another very nice inning for Brandon McCarthy. He's only faced 4 men twice, breezing along, leading 3-0. of the Dodgers. Brandon McCarthy has been quite a story. In fact, there's quite a story building with Maeda, Norris, and Kazmir. They've turned in collectively 18 innings, allowing only 8 hits and 1 earned run. And the strikeout to walk ratio is 8-1. And the earned run average is a half a run, with the opposition hitting 133. Can you imagine if you then toss in Brandon McCarthy? And here he is pitching a shutout through 4 innings. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw resting and cheering his teammates on from the dugout. Ground ball, fair, inside third, down the line. Puig is on his way for 2 and jogs in with a double. Yasiel Puig, his 6th double. He has a couple of triples. With Arenado playing way off the line, there was no chance Nolan could even get close to it. So Puig opens up with a double, and Gray is in trouble again. Grandal and McCarthy with the Dodgers leading 3-0. Oh, and 1. Grandal walked in the 2nd inning, but was thrown out trying to score by Brandon Barnes. Oh, and 2. I'm not sure how it went, but I'm sure you're aware that sometime during the full season, the rookies on a team are hazed by wearing outrageous costumes on the road. So you get off the airplane, you go to the hotel, and you really are a mess to look at. And they've done that for years to many, many players. Here's the strike 2 pitch, ball 1. And they decided to do that to Jon Gray. They dressed him up full regalia as a bride, with the hair down around the shoulders. You look beautiful, darling. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pick off play and throw. Puig back. 1 and 2 the count. A lot of times that play is called by the catcher. Catcher's looking out, watching the second baseman where he is in relationship to the runner, and then he tells the pitcher, go back and get him. 1 and 2. Fastball away. 2 and 2. I've often told the story of the catcher with the New York Mets a long time ago, who would give his signals, but he would look down at his own fingers to remember what he was calling. And that sounds outrageous, but it actually happened. 2 and 2. And a high pop foul. At least Arenado's on the fair ground. Boy, he's fighting the sun. Makes the catch, throws to second, and they double up Puig. Oh, wow. The question, where was Puig going? I mean, sure, the ball might have dropped, but it was going to land at Arenado's feet. All right, 2 down. Boy, Arenado fighting desperately, and then what a heads-up play. Both eyes riveted on the ball, and yet maybe the shortstop, Adames, told him the runner at second is liable. And Arenado didn't hesitate. He caught the ball and fired, and sure enough, Puig was 10 feet off the bag. So 2 down, 0 and 1 the count to Brandon McCarthy, and now 1 and 1. So Yasiel back in the dugout. Adrian Gonzalez trying to be a Dutch uncle. I mean, Puig is embarrassed enough. 2 and 1 the count. So Grandal hits a pop fly to third, and it turns out to be a double play. Heads up play by Arenado. and he must have gotten a little tip to throw to second by Adames. Or somehow he had one eye on the ball and one eye on the runner at second. That is quite a trick. That's a strike. Yasiel still seems puzzled. That's in there. That'll do it for McCarthy. He strikes out. So 3 batters in the third and 3 batters in the fourth. Life is a little better for Jon Gray. But at the end of 4, Dodgers lead 3-0. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Save big on a new Camry or Camry Hybrid at Toyota's July 4th sales event. We move to the 5th inning, and that's really important for Brandon McCarthy as the starting pitcher. He's required to go 5 in order to pick up a victory. Well, the Dodgers lead 3-0. And in the 5th inning, he'll be facing the bottom 4 in the Colorado lineup. That would be Hundley, Adames, and Barnes. So McCarthy has to be feeling, and I'm sure anybody on the ball club saying, wow, he is doing so much better than you would expect for somebody who's had such a long layoff. As we mentioned, he has always been a great control pitcher. That comes naturally to him. But even so, he has held a run-producing club, and that's what the Rockies normally are. Rockies have scored over 400 runs. Dodgers have scored 300 runs. Oh, yes, playing up in Colorado, they can pile them on. So here now is Nick Hundley. I remember back in 1993, that's when I found out about baseball in Denver. The Dodgers played Colorado a 4-game series. The total number of runs in the 4 games, 84. 84. 0-1. And of course, there was that very forgettable game, the Sunday game of the 4-game series, where the Rockies came from behind in the 9th inning and beat the Dodgers 16-15. 1-1 the count. One ball and 1 strike. Holding up on a change inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Talking about the Rockies, and I'm sure they've been called a lot of names. Their very first year in existence, there was a columnist, I guess he's still there, Woody Page. 2-2 the count to Hundley. And Woody said, let's call them cows. After a bad road trip, friends can say, well, things will be different when the cows come home. That was the way things were going in Denver that first year. 2-2 the count. And ball 3. Off speed for ball 4. So for Brandon McCarthy, after striking out 5, he gives up his first walk.
Number 18.
He's made 58 pitches. Those early days with Colorado when they built Coors Field, they were calling it the boom box with all the runs coming across. Interesting too, that brand new field cost $141 million to build. That's all. Today, as soon as you hear of a new park, you immediately think billion. Years ago, I remember reading an article. They talked about the shelf life of a stadium, and I thought, what are you talking about? Said, yeah, you build a brand new stadium, and about 25 years, you'll be looking for another one. And that's really come to pass. 1-1 the count. Looks like Adames needs another bat. Hundley at first, nobody out. 5th inning, 3-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Their last game with the Rockies for a while. They'll go to Colorado in August. Twice in August, the first week and the last week. And then Colorado comes here on the 22nd of September for a 4-game series. In fact, the last game with Colorado is the last game at Dodger Stadium for the regular season. That would be Sunday, September 25. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adames, switch hitter, batting left-handed, fly to left field in the 2nd inning. And a strike. 1-2. Christian Pascual Adames from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He'll be 25 the end of the month. Meanwhile, Jordan Lyles begins to loosen up, thinking about hitting for Gray. Adames unable to catch up to a pitch up around the letters, and down he goes. That's a half a dozen strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy.
1, Brandon Barnes.
So it also means the Rockies have struck out 32 times in the 3 games. Brandon Barnes grounded to third in the 3rd inning. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. Rockies were shut out 5-0. Finally scored last night in the 9th inning to avoid another shutout. And they've been blank so far today. So that's 9, 18, 23 innings almost, and they have 1 run. And this is a club that came here breathing fire as far as runs and base hits, etc. Off speed, fouled away. Great big move by McCarthy, and then it came up there at 80 miles an hour. That has to be a certain advantage about being 6'7", standing on the mound 10 inches. Takes that long stride, and all of a sudden, out of elbows and kneecaps comes an 80-mile-an-hour off-speed pitch. 0-2. Followed by a fastball at 94. 1-2 the count. The Baltimore series, Urias, Maeda, and Norris. Tomorrow night, a 6:10 game, remember. Celebrate the 4th of July, Independence Day, with us right here. And that swung on and missed. Down goes Barnes. 7 strikeouts so far for Colorado.
55.
And the batter will be John Gray. So Jordan Lyles in the bullpen will stop throwing. Gray struck out in the 3rd inning. He's 0 for 1. One other thing about trying to think of something else, because the game has kind of stopped dead in the water here. When they were building Coors Field, a lot of earth movement, they found bones for a 70-million-year-old dinosaur in Denver. One and one. Just to make no mistake, too, when they built Coors Field, every brick, like 1.4 million bricks, each one is stamped Coors Field. So hundreds of years later, when the field is rubble, people will find a brick and say, oh, this was part of Coors Field. Oh. 3-0 favor of the Dodgers. 5th inning. Wake up, Scully. 1-2 pitches. Ball 2. 2-2. Well, we told you that the Giants trailed 1-0. Then the Giants led 2-1. Now we can tell you Brandon Belt doubled in 2. So the Giants still hitting in the 4th inning, and they are leading 4-1. 2-2. Foul ball upstairs. Dodgers scored 3 in the 2nd inning. Trace Thompson homered, and then Kendrick hit by a pitch. Puig walked, Grandal walked, McCarthy walked for 2 runs. And eventually Grandal thrown out at the plate. Okay. Strikeout number 8 as Gray bites the dust. That means, again, McCarthy right on his game, and this time strikes out the side. And at the end of 4.5, it's official, 3-0 Dodgers. McCarthy made 20 pitches in the 5th inning. That gives him 72, and it also gives him a great round of applause and hugs from his teammates. And it's also the message, well done, and that's enough for today. So for his first game since April of last year, McCarthy was brilliant. 8 strikeouts, a couple of singles, and 1 walk. And he's rewarded Since it is now official game for him, he is in line to pick up a victory. Remember, last year he was 3-0 before the injury. Now here comes Utley, Seager, and Turner, with the Dodgers leading 3-0. Strike. Adam Liebertor throwing in the pen, so he'll be picking up for McCarthy. Utley twice flied to right field. Off speed, down and away. 1-1 the count to Chase Utley. John Gray gave up the 3 in the second inning, but he has settled down. Faced 3 batters in the third and 3 batters in the fourth. 1-1. That's a high strike in the top part of the strike zone. Three runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 1 home run by Trayce Thompson, a double by Puig. No runs, 2 singles for Colorado. And that'll do it for Utley. So he strikes out, goes 0 for 3. You know, you can make the little leaguer in your life feel like a big leaguer with a replica Dodger locker nameplate presented by Time Warner Cable. Available to the first 15,000 kids in attendance Wednesday at 12:10. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Oh, now a member of the Thumbsuckers Club. One of our favorite lines coming out of dear old Dr. Seuss. Oh, the thumbsucker's thumb may look wrinkled and wet and withered and white as snow, but the taste of a thumb is the sweetest taste yet, as only we thumbsuckers know. Meanwhile, base hit to right field by the amazing Corey Seager. So Seager is 2 for 3. He's hit in 16 straight. We were talking about how he spreads his hits. He's hit 32 to left field, 34 to center field, and now 32 to right field. Makes him really tough to defense. So Seager aboard with 1 out, and here's Justin Turner. Dodgers lead 3-0 in the 5th. Turner flied to right, single to left. His single knocked in a run, but Grandal was erased at the plate. And that's inside, hit the bat, 0-1 the count. For a moment there, it almost looked like it hit Justin. John Gray, meanwhile, made 73 pitches in the first 4 innings. He had a nightmare second inning. That's when he made 39 pitches, walked 3, hit a batter, and gave up a home run. High fly ball back of first, down the line. Descalso can't make it. It's a totally different ball game if you're trying to catch a fly ball like that coming in. But when you're going out like that, trying to look over your shoulder and the ball starts to move away, it's hard to get even under close of it. And he missed it by a good foot at least. Tough play. 0-2 the count. And Turner really hits one up the chute. Looking up for it is Hundley. Here's Arenado, and he makes the catch. Boy, was that a high big league pop-up. 2 down. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Flied to right, single to right. Remember when the Dodgers were on the road, and it was in the papers, Dave Roberts reported that Adrian Gonzalez said, "I'd like to have a day off." And of course Dave responded, "Of course, a veteran playing every day like you, when you come to me for a day off, You've got the day off. Well, since that day off, Gonzalez is 10 for 19, batting .526. Right. Yeah, they know those veteran players. Managers always wise to listen to them. Adrian knew he needed it, and he has responded so very well. 3-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 5th inning. 1-1. Dodgers scoring all 3 runs in the 2nd inning. In the dirt, 2-1. Seager 2 for 3 today as it's safely in 16 straight. Arenado playing Gonzalez like a shortstop. Arenado can also tell Corey Seager what's it like to have a pretty good hitting streak. Arenado had a 28-game hitting streak. 2-1. Three and 1. 2 out, 5th inning, 3-0 Dodgers. Seager at first. Seager not going. 3-2. Gonzalez looking fastball on that pitch. He was way out in front. Gray ready to make his 89th pitch. Top of the order will be coming up in the 6th. Blackmon, LeMahieu, and Gonzalez. Full count, 2 down. Seager ready to go from first. Descalso is not holding him. Corey goes. A line drive speared by Descalso. Whoa. So Adrian losing an extra base hit with that bullet. No runs ahead, a man left, and at the end of 5, 3-0 Dodgers. 2004, on this day of July the 3rd, Eric Gagne continued his masterful performance as a reliever. He picked up his 84th consecutive save without a blown save. However, 2 days later, he did suffer the blown save that snapped the record. Of course, then he went on to have 161, and Kenley Jansen passed him to break his record. Let's move on to this one. Adam Liebertor coming out of the Dodger bullpen to pick up for McCarthy, who went a brilliant 5, struck out 8, allowed 2 hits, and walked but 1. And a strike to Charlie Blackmon. Meanwhile, John Gray has really improved. He's made 89 pitches, but outside of that 1 inning when he gave up the 3, Gray has really settled down. 3-0 Dodgers, top of the 6th. Blackmon struck out and singled to right. Adam Liebertor trying to pick up now and hold on to this one. Oh and 1. Blackmon, who is a good bunter, fouls it. Charlie covers a lot of ground in center field. He is so fast. He's a good hitter. Last year stole 43 bases. He had 3 games 2 years ago where he was 5 for 5 or better. He was 5 for 5 twice, and he had a 6 for 6 game as well. 0-2. And he is hit on an 0-2 pitch. The Blackmon hit by Liebertor. Base runner, nobody out. DJ LeMahieu coming up.
Second baseman, DJ LeMahieu.
LeMahieu singled to right, grounded to short, 1 for 2. So Charlie is nailed and takes first. That, by the way, is the 6th time this year that Blackmon has been hit by a pitch. Three runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. And ball 1. Can't get over Brandon McCarthy, how well he pitched. You know, his last game was April 25 last year. The surgery was April 30th. One ball, no strikes. That's in there. Casey Fien is now up in the Dodger bullpen, the right-hander. When Brandon McCarthy pitched in that game in April of last year, he was the winning pitcher. He went 5 innings. He was fortunate because he gave up 6 earned runs, but it was just before the surgery, so you know he was hurting, but he did pick up the win. Well, we can tell you the Giants are now leading the D-backs 4-1 in the 6th inning. 3-0 Dodgers, 6th inning. Blackmon at first, nobody out. McCarthy did not face more than 4 men in any inning. That happened 3 of his 5 innings. Oh, they've got Blackmon picked off. Gonzalez high to Corey, who makes the tag. So Charlie Blackmon is hung out to dry, and we have 1 out here in the 6th inning. LeMahieu up there with a 1-ball, 1-strike count. The throw to first, and Blackmon had nowhere to hide. Seager puts the ball on him easily. So for Blackmon, who had stolen 8, he's now 8 out of 12. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1 to LeMahieu. Breeze has turned around and is actually blowing right to left. Don't see that very often. And ball 3. Giants are winning. Dodgers are winning. The Colorado Rockies leave here to go play the Giants, while the Dodgers figure to have their hands full with Baltimore. So LeMahieu struggling, still up there 3-2. Baltimore begins the day 4 games above Boston, and of course Boston lost that nightmare game to the Angels 21-2 yesterday. However, Baltimore does have a losing streak going into today's game. They've lost 3 straight. And for Baltimore, one glaring sour note in the orchestra: the fact that on the road, Baltimore is 4 games under 500. So we'll see just how good they are. They'll be here tomorrow night. And we can also tell you Seattle is leading Baltimore 6-3. So the Orioles in danger of losing 4 straight and going 5 games under 500 on the road. And now this word from Buck Showalter. 3-2. Fouled away. Of course, when Baltimore comes, we'll also turn the clock back a little bit and think of the 1966 World Series, 50 years ago. Mike Cuellar, Jim Palmer. Dodgers couldn't score a run. In fact, that 1966 Dodger championship team was really an odd team. I believe this is correct. They were shut out 17 times that year, and that's strike 3. So LeMahieu walks back with the bat, and we have 2 out in the 6th. I don't believe any pennant-winning team in baseball history had ever been shut out 17 times and still won the pennant. So when they went into the World Series, people in Los Angeles were shocked that they were shut out a couple of times against Baltimore. Well, certainly Jim Palmer, one of the great pitchers, will be here. He's broadcasting for Baltimore. More about that tomorrow night. Here's Carlos, struck out twice. His misery continues. Little ground ball. Howie Kendrick will make the play. So a hit batsman, but then Blackmon is thrown out trying to steal. LeMahieu strikes out. 9 Rockies have struck out today, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. Ball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. Back in October 1956, the General Dwight D. Eisenhower, shaking hands with Walter O'Malley. It was before the first game of the 56 World Series that was played at Dodger Stadium. Another great moment from the past. So it's 3-0 in favor of the Dodgers. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It will be Trayce Thompson, Howie Kendrick, followed by Yasiel Puig. Thompson homered back in the 2nd inning. Almost hit ball 1. The top 3 Major League rookie home run leaders are here. We've seen plenty of Corey Seager with 17. We've seen a lot Trayce Thompson with 13. We have not seen Trevor Story with 19. Out with a bad hand, having been hit by a pitch. Slicing fly ball down the line, and that's going to wind up in the crowd. And the count 1-1. We were kind of gesturing a little bit about the memory 50 years ago, the Dodgers in Baltimore. We talked about the Dodgers being shut out and how the people were so flabbergasted that the Dodgers were shut out in the World Series. Well, they were shut out 3 times in a 4-game series. 6-0, 1-0, 1-0. They lost another game 3-2. They lost 2 games here at Dodger Stadium. And the 2 losing pitchers for the Dodgers in that World Series, Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale. Baltimore, 1966. Wow. 2-1. 2-2. Well, the D-backs pick up a run. No surprise there. Paul Goldschmidt hit his 15th home run of the year with the bases empty. They're in the 6th. Giants 4, D-backs 2. So we'll watch it carefully. Dodgers trail the Giants by 5. In that 66 World Series, if you see Puig, for instance, have trouble on a fly ball, the Dodgers center fielder Willie Davis made 3 errors in one game here in his own ballpark in the bright sunshine. And Willie could go and get him. High fly ball to center, but playable. Blackman is there. So Thompson a fly ball, 1 out. Howie Kendrick coming up. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Rockies, who are just having a dreadful series. They had 26 strikeout in the first 2 games. They've had 9 more today. That's 35 strikeouts for the Rockies, and they're not finished. Strike 1 to Kendrick. That has to be maddening not only to the players, but how about the frustration of Walt Weiss? 1-1. The Rockies 2 games under 500 at home, 4 games under 500 on the road, but only 1 game under 500 within the National League West. I'm not sure if that tells you much about the Rockies or about the National League West. Jordan Lyles for the 2nd time gets up. Pitch count now up to 98 for young John Gray. Ground ball to first. Nice pick by Descalso, doing a very good job over there. 2 down. So the 2nd inning was about an aberration as far as John Gray is concerned. The home run, then he hit Kendrick, and then he walked Puig, Grandal, and McCarthy. That kind of let the game get away, but he's been terrific ever since. Since the 2nd inning, the only man to get to second base against Gray is at the plate, Yasiel Puig. Ground ball to short. The long throw by Adonis. Another nice inning by Jon Gray, but that one inning, like a missing front tooth. At the end of 6, 3-0 Dodgers. What's ahead for the Dodgers? Well, July 4th, tomorrow night, 6:10 game, remember. And the Dodgers open up a 3-game series with Baltimore. Tuesday, the regular time at 7:10. And then Wednesday, a day game at 12 o'clock. Followed by 4 games with San Diego. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon. Dodgers then will get a well-deserved rest during the All-Star break. And they'll come back on the 15th on the road against Arizona, then against Washington, and then against St. Louis. And when they come back, they'll go up against another American League team, Tampa Bay. But that's long in the distance. Right now, Nolan Arenado, Daniel Descalso, and Nick Hundley facing right-hander Casey Fiend. Casey made 13 pitches last night. Came in to pitch the 7th inning. Struck out 1. Arenado hit back to the box. Actually, that dribbler up along third. And last time up, fly to right. And ball 1. Liberatore in his inning, he made 12 pitches. McCarthy made 72. Now we'll see about Casey Fiend. They're in the 7th inning over in Arizona. Giants 4, D-backs 2. Jon Gray got the side out in the 6th inning. John made exactly 100 pitches, and they have someone in the bullpen throwing back at him. Ground ball, backhanded, and they play to first for the out. So Utley, who was almost behind Seager taking that ground ball, now goes way back to his normal position. And here's Descalso. So Arenado has been quieted. He had 1 hit. That was that home run last night. Dodgers have absolutely dominated Arenado and Gonzalez. And minus Story, who can't play because of the bad hand, Colorado just can't manufacture any runs at all. That dropped in for a strike, 1-1. 24 1/3 innings. The Rockies, a big run producing ball club, and they've scored 1 run. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-1. So McCarthy went 5. A great outing. Not a good one. It was great. Give up 2 hits, a walk, strike out 8. Liberatore then came in, got an inning, and now it's up to Casey. Ground foul. Dodgers had a great reliever back in Brooklyn way back when. Hugh Casey. Hundley on deck. Descalso trying to get aboard. For the Rockies, they had LeMahieu single with 1 out in the first inning. They had Blackmon single with 2 out in the third, and that was their last hit. A walk and a hit batter, the only 2 other base runners they've had. 3-2. Fouled away. Rockies have lost 4 in a row, so when this game is over, the Dodgers will certainly wish them well, since they're going up to San Francisco. The way things are going for them, they'll probably see Bumgarner and Cueto. 3-2. And a drive to right with a lot on it, and Puig watching that ball clear the right field wall. A home run for Daniel Descalso. So that makes it 3-1 as the Rockies get the power from unexpected sources. Descalso had 1 home run. You'd expect Gonzalez, Arenado, Story to come up, but it's Descalso. Three to 1 Dodgers, 1 out, and here's Hundley. The pitchers for the Giants when Colorado goes up there: Jake Peavy the first game, and then as scheduled Madison Bumgarner in game 2, Johnny Cueto in game 3. Cueto is 12-1. High fly ball. Puig is there. 2 down. Boy, and those sunglasses were really glistening.
Shortstop Christian Adames.
That's what you see, but you try to find the ball and you desperately look at all the shaded areas. You might lose it coming out of the lowest deck, but then somewhere in that wedding cake you pick it up and then hold that you don't lose it in the sun. So Puig has the toughest job in that position. Right field's always been the sun field, except in Yankee Stadium. And Babe Ruth, when he played the outfield, would only play right field because it was always in the shade. When you hit 1,000 home runs, you can say, I'll only play in the shade. All right, 2 down, and here is Christian Adames. Fly to left, struck out. Did have a double last night. That's his 1 hit in the series. 0-1. Dodgers now get right-handed Joe Blanton up in their bullpen. Boone Logan, the left-hander, Chad Qualls, veteran right-hander, are up in the Colorado pen. Dodgers scored 3 in the second inning, and offensively they've not really been heard from again. They're trying to make that 3 spot a winner, and they're leading 3-1. And that's going down the line, foul. 0-2 to Christian Adames. From Santo Domingo, 24 years old. Signed as a free agent by the Rockies about 9 years ago. Switch hitter, but they don't certainly expect much hitting from him. Very good shortstop. And a cracked bat. Ground ball to Utley. And that'll do it for the Rockies in the 7th. They get a run on the home run by Descalso. And at the end of 6.5, as the flags flutter in the breeze, Dodgers lead 3-1. Baseball and fireworks. Celebrate tomorrow here at the game with the Orioles and enjoy a post-game fireworks show courtesy of Hawaiian Springs Water. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Bottom of the 7th inning, Chad Qualls will pick up for John Gray, who had that one bump in the road when Gray gave up a home run, a hit batter, and then walked 3 more. Otherwise, John pitched a dandy of a game. Brandon McCarthy outpitched him, but now with the home run by Descalso, it's a close game. 3-1 Dodgers, and Chad Qualls getting ready to pitch to Grandal, and a strike. Yasmani walked, hit a towering pop fly that was caught by Arenado, who fired to second and got Puig about 10 feet off the bag. So Grandal 0 for 1. He was also thrown out at the plate. That was a dazzling play by Arenado. I have to believe he got help. Somebody said to him, throw it to second. And I mean, he caught that ball, didn't hesitate, and Puig was about 10 feet off the bag. 1-2 the count to Yasmani Grandal. Yasiel went back to the dugout, sat down at the far corner of the bench, and right there was Adrian Gonzalez to talk to him. But that was quite a play by Arenado. It wasn't just a pop fly, it was a towering pop fly. High fly ball going back on the ball is Blackmon. That's carrying very well, and he's going to leap in the air and come up empty. Home run for Grandal, and the Dodgers lead 4-1. Yasmani Grandal now has 8 home runs, 7 of the 8 hit left-handed. And the Dodgers have a little more breathing room now, lead 4-1. Ball really carried. The wind did not help, and it was just out of the outstretched arm of Charlie Blackmon. Had that been hit an inning or so ago, we would have talked about the wind blowing from right to left, and that helped it, but not that time. And we're going to have a 2-for-1 switch now. Trevor Story the home run hitting shortstop who has not played, and they've certainly missed him. He was hit by a pitch and he has a bad finger, but here he is in the 8th inning coming in, and we'll be right back. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. The Rockies pull off the double switch. If you're keeping score, put Boone Logan, the pitcher, in Adames' spot, the shortstop, and put the new shortstop, Trevor Story, batting 9th. In the pitcher slot. So we see Trevor Story for the first time. Always feel somewhat cheated when a player making news unable to play. Story hitting .267 with 19 home runs, 50 runs batted in, and he finally gets in a game, and he's directly behind second base. Will Venable batting for Fiend, so it's been McCarthy for 5, Libator for 1, Casey Fiend for 1. A roll to the first. Descalso takes it to the bag, and that'll do it for Venable. The Grandal homers. Venable grounds out, and the batter is Chase Utley.
Chase Utley.
Chase Utley twice flied to right. Last time up, struck out. 4-1 favor the Dodgers. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Last we checked, the Giants were winning. Still 4-2. They're in the 7th now over there. 1 ball and no strikes to Chase. Big man on the mound, Boone Logan. He's 6'5", checks in a good 220. Two and 0. Boone Logan was born in San Antonio. Family moved to a suburb just northwest of the big city. He lives in a town, we're not quite sure how you pronounce it, Helotes, Helotes. It's a Spanish word, or at least the derivation of a Spanish word that reads corn on the cob. Well, that's Boone Logan. Helotes. It was a stagecoach chop. And here's Boone Logan, 3-1. 3-2. Dodgers lead 4-1. Giants lead 4-2. Utley still up there after fouling it off, and the count 3-2. Dodgers scored 3 in the second inning, and then each side scored a run in the 7th on a home run. Descalso, the first baseman, and Grandal, the Dodger catcher. Ground ball, nice play again by Descalso. I guess when you're a good infielder at second or short, you can certainly play first, and he's done a great job today.
Shortstop number 5, Corey Seager.
2 down, and here is Corey Seager talking about doing a great job. Corey twice singled to right. In between, he struck out 2 for 3 and hitting .304 with a remarkable 16-game hitting streak. Check for a strike. So Corey has his home runs. Story has his 19. Story, by the way, will bat second when the Rockies come up in the 8th inning. One and one. Four runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 3 hits for the Rockies. Dodgers have 2 home runs and a double. The Rockies have 1 home run and a couple of singles. Meanwhile, Thompson, Gonzalez in the cool of the dugout. Corey just did get a little bit of a sweeper that was offside out of the strike zone. Boone Logan originally was a 20th round pick for the White Sox. But when he came up briefly with the White Sox, then went to the Braves, spent 4 years, almost 5, with the Yankees before coming to the Rockies. That's high, 3-2. Logan basically 2 pitches, fastball and slider. And there's the slider, and it takes care of Corey Seager. So Seager strikes out. 1 run in the inning. That was the home run by Yasmani Grandal. It really carried and just did clear the wall. 4-1 Dodgers. Gallardo on the mound for Baltimore with a record of 3-1 but a high ERA, and the Dodgers countering with Julio Urias. He's a 1-2 record, and his ERA is a little high at 4. So they'll be playing at 6:10 tomorrow night. Hope you'll be out here with us. Joe Blandon will now pick up for the Dodgers. Blandon did not pitch last night. He made 15 pitches the night before, and he's facing Brandon Barnes. On deck is Trevor Story. Story, they tell a great story about him. They were just about the last few days of spring training. Oh, and 2 to Barnes. Anyway, Walt Weiss said to young Story, he said, "Do you have any video on Greinke?" And Story said, "Yeah, I've watched him a little bit. I've seen him pitch." And Weiss said, "Okay, you're going to face him opening day." Well, that didn't take long for Barnes. 1 away. Anyway, Story made his major league debut this year, and it was against Zack Greinke, and he notched his first hit. It was a 3-run opposite field home run against Zack Greinke in the 3rd inning. And in his next at bat, would you believe it, he took Greinke deep again to become the first player in Major League history to hit 2 home runs while making his debut on opening day. First Rocky player to do it since Jeff Baker back about 2005. So for Story, he caught everybody's attention first of all when he hit 6 home runs in spring training, and then he hit 4 home runs in his first major league week. A couple of days later, he faced another Arizona pitcher, Shelby Miller. He hit his 3rd home run in his first 2 big league games against Miller. So that's Trevor Story, Trevor John Story, out of Irving, Texas, 1st-round pick by the Rockies. Bad hand, couldn't play Friday or Saturday. 2-1. 6'1", 180. 23 years old. He'd be 24 the middle of November. Rockies drafted him out of high school. Signed with the Rockies instead of going to school at Louisiana State. He played baseball, basketball, and football. However, in his sophomore year, he was a quarterback. He was hit by 3 guys and suffered a broken collarbone. And that was enough. He went on to baseball. His dad is a fireman. He'd go to work with his dad sometimes. 3-2 to Trevor. 1 out in the 8th. 4-1 Dodgers. Strike 3. So Trevor thought it was ball 4, and he holds his temper by holding his bat. So Blandon strikes out 2.
Fielder number 19, Charlie Blackmon.
Liberatore struck out LeMahieu. So that's 11 strikeouts again for the Rockies. Wow. So they struck out 12 in the first game, 14 in the second. That's 26. 11 more. So the Rockies have struck out 37 times in a 3-game series. With all that swinging, they've gotten 2 runs. One last night in the 9th, today in the 7th. Blackmon has struck out, singled, hit by a pitch. They're now in the 8th inning in Arizona. Giants 4, D-backs 2 in the Dodger bullpen. Kenley Jansen begins to warm up. Jammed him. 1-2. Dodgers had McCarthy go a great 5. No runs. Just 2 hits. Struck out 8. Then Liberatore an inning. Fien an inning. Blanton will pitch an inning. And then they will get to Kenley. Well, boy, I tell you, they are something, aren't they, the Rockies? Holy mackerel. 12 more strikeouts, 38 strikeouts in 3 games, but there's a winner. 4-1 Dodgers. Bottom of the 8th inning, Jason Lewis Mott by name. You may remember he pitched well for the Cardinals. He went to Iona College in New York. Born in Michigan, lives in Johnson City, Tennessee. Cardinals drafted him in 2003. Spent an entire career with the Cardinals. Then last year with the Cubs and this year with the Rockies. Mott 1 year, and that was back in 2012. He had 42 saves for the Cardinals. 42. It'll be Turner, followed by Gonzalez, and then Thompson. Bottom of the 8th, 4-1 Dodgers. Turner flied to right, single to left. Popped up. Mott is an even 6, 200-pounder. 34 years old. And a drive that's beginning to slice, and Backman is going to make the catch. That ball just started to drift, and that was the only reason Blackman was able to catch it. Great play by Charlie. One away.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
There goes Blackman, and a fine catch. One away. Every way you look at it, it's a winner. And again, there was just that drift at the last minute that made it able to be caught. So one away in the 8th. Gonzalez flied to right, single to right, grounded to first. 0-1. Mott was one of those fellows like Kenley Jansen in the Dodger bullpen. He was originally drafted by the Cardinals as a catcher. Once they saw his arm, they decided he can't hit enough, but boy, can he pitch. 0-2. Three years as a catcher, Jason hit just 188, so they finally switched him, and it's been a very good deal for him. 0-2. Check, strike three. Though Adrian didn't think he committed, but he's been punched out. Down he goes. So we have two down in the eighth inning, and Trayce Thompson coming up.
Center fielder number 21, Trayce Thompson.
Pitch in the dirt. Adrian tried to hold up, couldn't do it. Trayce Thompson homered, struck out, and flied to center. Adrian annoyed, but very calmly puts the equipment away. Paid attendance today, 41,836. 41,836. 1 ball and no strikes. When the Rockies come up in the ninth inning, and remember the side struck out in the eighth, it will be LeMahieu, Gonzalez, and Arenado. That's the best the Rockies have, and Kenley Jansen will be facing them. Strike, 1-1. It's still 4-2 over in Arizona, and they're in the bottom of the eighth. One ball, one strike. Off the plate. Jason Motte, like so many others, had Tommy John surgery. It's becoming the exception for a pitcher who hasn't had it. 3-1 to count. He has his own foundation, the Jason Motte Foundation, a strikeout cancer event. Another major league player making big contributions to the welfare of others. Three and one, and a strike. 3-2. Motte has a different kind of a delivery. As a right-hander, as he stands on the rubber, he almost turns around to show the hitter his number. Not quite, but close enough to be different. All right, right foot on the first side of the rubber. Left foot straight in front, and now he turns. So with all of that, he walks Thompson, and with two down, Howie Kendrick will be coming up. MLB TV Premium, that's the #1 live streaming sports service. It delivers everything you've come to expect and then some. You can watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices, and it includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout, other restrictions apply, so visit MLB TV for details. So Thompson at first with a 2-out walk. Dodgers scored 3 in the second and did not score again until Grandal homered in the 7th. The Rockies didn't score at all until Descalso homered in the 7th. 0-1 to Howie Kendrick. If you ask Jason Motte where you lived between kindergarten and 12th grade, he'll tell you. Michigan, Louisiana, Connecticut, Louisiana again, Florida, Arkansas, Colorado, Kentucky, Florida again, New York. His dad worked construction, and they were constantly moving around. So as Jason said, I'm always the new kid coming in, and it's helped him in his baseball career because he's bounced around. 2-1 the count. Jason signed a 2-year deal in December of last year, so this would be the second year. Basically fastball, slider, curve. He has a cutter. And a hopper to short, Story the feed, and that'll be that. So for the Dodgers, no runs, no hits at the end of 8. Dodgers 4, Colorado 1. The 9th inning. We can also tell you in the bottom of the 8th inning in Arizona, Jake Lamb just hit a 2-run home run off Corey Guerin in relief, and the Diamondbacks have tied the Giants 4-4, still hitting in the 8th inning. Dodgers make a move in left field. They take out Howie Kendrick, and the veteran Scott Van Slyke takes over in left. So we'll try to keep an eye on that Giant game. That's the second day in a row they blow the lead. Last night they led 5-3. Castillo hit the home run to beat them 6-5. Today they led 4-1, and now Lamb's 2-run home run makes it 4-4. For the Rockies, it'll be LeMahieu, Gonzalez, Arenado. For the Dodgers, it's been McCarthy for 5, then Liberatore, Fean, Blanton, and now Kenley. Interesting, too, that Jansen would come in on this date. We mentioned earlier, back in 2004, on this date, Eric Gagne saved his 84th consecutive game to set a major league record. And now the man who has passed Eric Gagne, Kenley Jansen, trying to close it up. That's a strike. Jansen right now has 23 saves. LeMahieu single to right, grounded to short, and struck out. One and one. That's a strike. 1-2. Carlos Gonzalez on deck. I'm sure he can't wait to get out of here. He's had a bad time, as bad a time as we've ever seen a really good player have. Check swing foul. Still 1-2 to LeMahieu. Dodgers trying to win today, and they would be 10 games above 500. They will have won 17 of 20 and 9 straight at home. And LeMahieu comes up empty, strikes out a second time. So that's 13 Rockies to have struck out. That's 39 Rockies to bite the dust in the 3 games. Here's Gonzalez. Carlos struck out twice, grounded out, 0 for 3. Still hitting well over 300, 319, 18 home runs. I mean, everything he does is terrific, great arm. Can't buy a hit here at Dodger Stadium. And ball 1. 41,836 taking in this game. So we had 43-6 Friday night, 46-6 Saturday night, 41-8 today. And that's going to be a fly ball. Coming up for it is Puig, and it's going to land for a base hit. For Gonzalez, boy, was that a long time coming. Just a fly ball. And that'll bring up Arenado. Nolan dribbled one up along third. McCarthy threw him out, flied to right, and grounded to second. Arenado has 1 hit in the 3 games. That was a home run last night in the 9th inning. Strike. So the Dodgers have really done a number on Gonzalez and Arenado. And with them shut down, Rockies just can't score. No runs in game 1, 1 run last night, 1 run today. Oh, and 2 to Nolan. Jason Mott and the others taking in the ball game. That's about it. Charlie Blackmon leaning on the railing. He at least got on base twice. Blackmon singled to right field, and in the 6th inning was hit by a pitch. He also made that sensational diving catch on the ball hit by Justin Turner. So the Dodgers are going to wish Blackmon and the rest of the boys, hey, have a great time in San Francisco. 0-2. Check. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Standing quietly, Gonzalez at first. Oh my goodness. Well, we don't show him. Not if we can help it. Yeah, we'll look at the sky. We'll look at the flags. Anything but foolish kids running on the field. And they're kids. It's embarrassing for the hard-working fellows who have to restore peace and quiet, but they have to do it. And the kids are making it difficult. They're not going to walk. They have to be dragged. Meanwhile, we'll look at Nolan Arenado. Good-looking guy out of Lake Forest, one of the outstanding players in the National League. Had a bad series. That happens to everybody. Arenado 0 for 3 today. And we still have to wait for the removal of those who think it's more important to run out on the field and interfere with things than to sit quietly and watch a big league ball game. So we'll get back to action in a minute. 4 runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits, and no errors for the Rockies. Meanwhile, they're in the top of the 9th inning. The Giants and the D-backs are 4-4 in the 9th. Ruben Tejada, the veteran, is playing for the Giants. He's 1 for 4. Brad Ziegler just gave one of those knuckle-dragging pitch there in the 9th. Okay. The men did a wonderful job. I'm sure they hated to do it, but it had to be done, and they've cleared off the field, and now we can get back to the game. 1-2 the count to Nolan Arenado. 1 out, runner at first. Dodgers lead 4-1. So Jansen had his concentration erupted for a minute. Now finally figures, okay, peace has been restored. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tomorrow night, 6:10 with the Orioles. Giovanni Gallardo and Julio Urias. 6:10, big league ball game, beautiful weather, and then fireworks. And after all of that, Arenado strikes out. So for a fellow who doesn't strike out, and that's really the truth, Nolan just doesn't strike out. But in this series, he struck out 3 times, 3 times, once more. 7 times he has struck out in the 3 games. So Arenado can't do it, Gonzalez can't do it, and the Rockies can't score without them. So here's Descalso, who struck out, fly to center, and homered. And there goes the runner. They'll not pay any attention. Defensive indifference, and Gonzalez at second base. Most relievers are not particularly good at holding runners on. They are so intent on getting the hitter. Oh and 1. Fastball at 95. 1-1. Ziegler, who pitched last night for Arizona to seal up the victory, is pitching the 9th inning in a 4-4 tie against the Giants. Hard ground foul outside of first down the line. 1-2. Don't forget now, 6:10 tomorrow night with Baltimore. 7:10 Tuesday night. 12:10 Wednesday afternoon. Crowd of 41,000. Everybody up right now. The last 5 outs have been strikeouts for Colorado. In the 8th inning with Blanton pitching, he struck out Barnes, he struck out Story, he struck out Blackmon. And then Jansen comes in and he struck out LeMahieu, and he strikes out Arenado. Well, the Rockies had 6 men come to the plate and only 1 hit the ball. And that was the single by Gonzalez. Little fly ball that dropped in. 2-2. Dodgers 1 out away from winning 9 in a row at home. Yeah, it figured the game would end as a Rocky strikes out. So 6 strikeouts in the last 2 innings. It has been a nightmare weekend series for Walt Weiss, and the Dodgers now hope that the Rockies will get better when they go to San Francisco, while the Dodgers welcome Baltimore. In case you care, Jensen made 17 pitches, and the player of the game would have to be Brandon McCarthy. It wasn't luck of the Irish. He had great stuff. He struck out 8, walked only 2, walked 1, and gave up just 2 hits. So McCarthy picks up his first victory since way back in April of 2015. Tomorrow night, remember, 6:10 with Baltimore. We'll talk to you then. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.